Gotham City, 1981. Arthur Fleck, a mentally ill loner with aspirations to become a world-famous stand-up comedian, works as a clown for hire for a company called Ha Ha's. He is tasked with advertising a store by dancing and waving a sign around. The sign gets snatched by a group of punk teens, forcing Arthur to chase them into an alley. They smash the sign against his face and proceed to mercilessly kick him while he's down. In this time period, Gotham City is grappling with rampant crime, widespread unemployment, and pervasive poverty. Arthur regularly visits a social worker to obtain his medication and address his persistent mental health challenges. During a bus ride home, Arthur notices a small child observing him. In an attempt to engage with the child, Arthur makes silly faces that entertain the boy, but the child's mother intervenes, instructing Arthur to cease interacting with her son. Arthur's response is an uncontrollable fit of hysterical laughter, prompting the mother to inquire about his behavior. In response, Arthur hands her a card explaining that he suffers from a condition that causes his uncontrollable laughter. Upon returning home to his residence with his ailing mother, Penny, Arthur and his mother spend their time watching a talk show hosted by Murray Franklin. During this leisure activity, Arthur daydreams about being a guest on the show, capturing Murray's attention. In his fantasy, Arthur captivates the audience and Murray by sharing that he takes care of his mother. He reveals that Penny, who used to be employed by Thomas Wayne, has written to him in an attempt to improve their living conditions. When Arthur returns to the building where his workplace is located, his co-worker, Randall, provides him with a gun as a means of self-protection against potential future attacks. Despite Arthur mentioning that carrying guns is prohibited, Randall insists on him taking the weapon. Meanwhile, at his apartment, Arthur is infatuated with his neighbor, single mother, Sophie Dumond. She speaks to him politely, but he is awkward and weird around her. At one point, he spends his day following her. Later, she comes by his apartment and asks if he was following her, and he admits that he was, but she doesn't seem put off by it.
Come by tomorrow.
He invites her to a stand-up comedy show that he is performing at, and she agrees to come.
Let me know when.
Arthur later goes to a children's hospital to entertain them as a clown, but his gun accidentally falls out onto the ground. When the incident is reported, Arthur's boss fires him. Dejected, Arthur takes the train and encounters 3 young men harassing a young lady on the train, and he begins to laugh uncontrollably. The 3 guys walk up to Arthur and start teasing him. Soon, they begin to assault him.
Listen, I'll tell you what you have, you asshole.
In self-defense, Arthur pulls out his gun, fatally shooting 2 of the harassers. He shoots the 3rd harasser on his legs and follows him out the train and finishes him off by shooting him 3 times. Hysterical Arthur begins to run and ends up in a restroom and begins to dance strangely. He then goes to Sophie's apartment and make out with her. The next day, the news of the 3 young men killed is on the news, and it is revealed by Thomas Wayne that the 3 young men worked for Wayne Investment, and it is a shame they were killed. Thomas Wayne then reveals that it is because of incident like this in Gotham City that makes him consider running for mayor. Seemingly undisturbed by these murders, Arthur arrives at the comedy club for his performance, beginning with uncontrollable laughter before delving into his routine, which, unfortunately, lacks humor. Despite the tepid reception of his jokes, Sophie is visible in the audience, seemingly enjoying and laughing at Arthur's attempts at humor. After the show, Sophie works up to Arthur, who is staring at the newspaper about the killer clown on the loose, and tells him she thinks the guy that did it is a hero. 3 less pricks in Gotham City, only 1 million more left to go. This makes Arthur proud of himself. After his failure at the comedy club, Arthur returns home and intercepts a letter that his mother is attempting to send to Thomas Wayne, her former employer and the wealthiest man in Gotham. The letter contains the revelation that Arthur is Thomas's illegitimate child. In response, Arthur becomes furious with his mother and, driven by a desire for answers, heads to Wayne Manor in the hope of confronting Thomas Wayne and uncovering the truth. He meets young Bruce and sticks his hands through the gate to make Bruce smile, but Alfred comes to intervene and tell Arthur to get lost. Arthur mentions his mother and her involvement with Thomas, but Alfred says he remembers Penny and that she is delusional and she was lying to him. Arthur tries to attack Alfred but ends up running away. Shortly after, Penny falls ill and is admitted to the hospital.
Yep.
Two detectives, Burke and Garrity, visit Arthur's apartment to question him about the subway murders, as the suspect was reported to be wearing clown makeup, and they are aware of Arthur losing his job earlier that day. Arthur denies any involvement and successfully convinces the detectives to leave. Sophie accompanies Arthur as he tends to his mother. While at the hospital, Arthur notices that Murray's show is airing a clip from his stand-up routine, but he is dismayed to realize that Murray used the footage to mock him.
They did, but my mother would be a comedian.
Arthur locates Thomas at a public event and attempts to confront him about the possibility of being his father. Arthur brings up Penny, whom Thomas recalls. However, Thomas dismisses the notion, stating that Penny was delusional and there's no way Arthur could be his son. In response, Arthur bursts into laughter in Thomas's face, leading to Thomas punching him. Arthur is subsequently ejected from the building. Subsequently, Arthur receives a phone call from a representative of Murray's show, extending an invitation for him to appear as a guest. Arthur accepts the offer to participate. In an attempt to unravel the mysteries of his mother's past, Arthur goes to Arkham Asylum to try and learn more about his mother's past, having learned that she was once committed there. He speaks to a clerk, Carl, who has a file on Penny. When Carl says he can't give Arthur the info he wants, Arthur snatches the file and runs away to read it. It is there that he discovers a shocking truth. His mother had adopted him after he was found abandoned. Furthermore, he learns that she is delusional and had allowed Arthur to endure physical abuse at the hands of her boyfriends. One part of the file mentions Arthur having a head injury, which is likely the cause of his laughing condition. Arthur returns home and breaks into Sophie's apartment, causing her terror. She pleads with him to leave for the sake of her daughter. Through this distressing encounter, it is revealed that every previous interaction with Sophie was a figment of Arthur's imagination. Arthur revisits the hospital and shares with Penny that he once believed his life was a tragedy, but now realizes it's a fucking comedy.
It's a fucking comedy.
With a heavy heart, he then suffocates Penny to death. As Arthur prepares for his appearance on Murray's show, he is visited in his apartment by Randall and another former co-worker, Gary. They express condolences upon hearing about Penny's death, but reveal that detectives Burke and Garrity have questioned them about the subway murders. In a shocking turn of events, Arthur brutally stabs Randall to death. However, he spares the terrified Gary, who had been kind to him at Ha-Ha's. Arthur then proceeds to dye his hair green, apply full clown makeup, and don a burgundy suit as he readies himself for the upcoming show. Burke and Garrity discover Arthur dancing in the street. Arthur flees and the detectives chase him into the subway, where numerous Gotham citizens inspired by the recent murders are dressed as clowns. As the detectives pursue Arthur, one clown inadvertently obstructs their path, leading to Burke accidentally shooting him dead. The clowns intervene, pulling the detectives out of the subway and assaulting them, providing an opportunity for Arthur to escape. Arthur meets Murray and his agent Jean before going on the show. Prior to his appearance, Arthur requests Murray to introduce him as Joker, a name Murray had used when playing his stand-up clip. As the show begins, Arthur awkwardly tells Murray a joke before confessing to the subway murders. Slowly, both Murray and the audience come to the realization that Arthur is serious. Arthur argues that the audience only cares about the victims because Thomas Wayne spoke for them, and anyone like him would be ignored and mistreated. Tensions rise as Murray scolds Arthur, leading to Arthur snapping and fatally shooting Murray in front of the horrified audience.
Fucking deserve!
In panic, the audience flees, and the news of the murder quickly spreads on the airwaves.
Good night. And always remember, that's...
Gotham is now overrun by rioting citizens dressed as clowns after hearing about what Arthur did. The Waynes leave a movie theater to find the chaos in the streets. Thomas takes Martha and Bruce into an alley, but one clown follows them and tells Thomas he is getting what he deserves. With that, he shoots Thomas and Martha dead in front of Bruce. Meanwhile, Arthur has been arrested and is being taken by police, but clowns in an ambulance run into the car and free Arthur. The rioters then cheer Arthur on as he stands on a car and embraces their admiration, now that he has gotten the recognition he has long desired. A while later, Arthur is locked up in Arkham. He meets a new social worker and says he wants to tell her a joke, but she wouldn't get it. Arthur then steps out of the room, leaving a trail of bloody footprints behind before he is chased around by orderlies. If you enjoyed this recap, don't forget to like, subscribe, share, so you never miss our future explorations of timeless classics and hidden gems. Until then, happy watching, and I'll catch you in the comments.